Tune in to the Diva Hot Show.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our show. Today, our guest is Maria. She's the CEO of Chief Empowerment Officer at Maria Smith Consulting on record. Did I get that right?
Yeah, MMS.
Okay.
Yes, MMS
Okay.
Consulting. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Maria, for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So can you share with us your journey of what made you start your consultants firm?
Yes, I spent my career in corporate
Mhm.
and I really felt just that tug, I think in 2019 to leave corporate and to start my consulting firm. It's really what I wanted to do was I spent my career in sales leadership. And so I wanted to focus on people and leadership development because I found myself in around 2012, 2013 in a place where I didn't have a lot of help in that space and I didn't know how to be a leader. And
Mhm.
I learned that while I had natural tendencies towards being a leader and I was a high performer and someone who definitely was a self-starter and self-motivated, I didn't necessarily have all the tools I needed to be successful as a leader of people, and managing people is completely different. It's a lot harder than people think. And so that was essentially why I wanted to start my business, was to work and with teams and companies and startups and businesses and organizations to help impact the productivity, the cohesiveness, and the strength of their teams to promote employee retention and to foster deeper connections within the team environment and build a stronger culture.
Wow. And can you give us some insight on some of your day-to-day roles and some of the key responsibilities that you have empowering others?
Yes, I would say that first and foremost, it starts at home.
Mhm.
And my number one goal is to make sure that my three children feel empowered and feel motivated. They don't always feel motivated, but trying to teach them some of the lessons that I use in my work every day. So I always tell people that what they see, in a workshop is all the things that we're doing behind the scenes at home as well, raising a family and raising kids who are aligned with their goals. They're creating their vision boards. They're setting their goals. We're following up with them monthly. We're trying, tweaking them. We're helping them understand, the ups and downs of accomplishing a goal, et cetera. So I'd say the day to day starts first and foremost as me being, mom and doing that. And then it really transitions into a lot of different things. I wear a lot of different hats on
Mhm.
any given day. It could be speaking to a group of powerhouse attorneys. The next, I could be working with a nonprofit. The next, I'm working with, a hospital institution, or I'm working with Paramount or Disney. So it really runs the gamut. And then
Okay.
at night, I do a lot of local community workshops for different women's groups, organizations that reach out and say they'd like a fun event for their communities.
And so how do you define empowerment and what does it look like in your practice when you're in consulting work?
Mhm. Yes. Well, empowerment is one of those words that's just been thrown around so much,
Mhm.
and it's almost become cliche, which is sad because there is so much depth to what empowerment means. And to me, empowerment equals ownership. It equals commitment. It equals, an honoring of oneself. Because I
Mhm.
think when we are empowered, we make decisions for the betterment of ourself, of our business, of our team, of our company, and we're in full alignment with what it is we're working to achieve. And I think oftentimes that's where when we see those disalignments is when we become unempowered, when we don't feel that we have a say in the work we're doing or in our own life, we become disempowered.
Mhm. And so, what would you say are some common challenges that people face when trying to empower themselves and others? And how do you address these challenges?
Yeah. So, oh, well, just like they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's my grandma used to say that I'm from Kentucky, so we had a lot of those like wild euphemisms growing up. But there's so many different ways to empower people. What works for one person is not going to work for the next. And I think that in teams, oftentimes, because I fell victim to this myself, or at least I was the perpetrator of this at times, trying to apply a one size fits all to everyone on my team when I didn't take into account and realize that everyone likes to be managed a little bit differently. And so where one person is motivated by money, another person could care less, and they're motivated by, helping their child get the necessary benefits that they need so that they can thrive. And so the reason they're showing up to work is completely different. So they are empowered or powered by different aspects of their life, not necessarily money. Not everyone wants to get promoted and make, all the money in the world. It's great. We have to make a living. And I love talking about money because I came from the financial services side of an automotive manufacturer, and I'm not uncomfortable about that. It's definitely something we need to be more aware of in those environments, but that's not everyone's chief motivator. And I think when we can identify that and help people understand. So I think that's a big issue that I would say is why a lot of teams aren't as empowered. And then I would say too, from a leadership standpoint, we don't often give trust. We don't often trust, team members to do what we hired them to do. We hired them because we thought that they were the best fit for the role, and they clearly displayed through either, written or through whether it's a personality test or an in-person interview, et cetera, whatever your measurement tools were, you found that they were the right fit for the job. But then oftentimes we claw back that trust the second they get into the organization and think, nope, I gotta help you, or I gotta do things for you. So another way that we, disempower people, and then that we have that disconnect, unfortunately. So I think as leaders, when we're building out teams, we have to be mindful of how people want to be led, and we have to give them the opportunity to fail. We have to give them the opportunity. We have to trust them enough. We've definitely set them up for success. We have to provide the resources, but knowing that in order to really make this team work and to make it cohesive, there are going to be times when we don't hit the mark, and that's okay because we're learning. And if you're a good leader, then you'll learn to fail together.
Right. And I think that's key, where I think some managers or leaders, they like to micromanage. And sometimes, like you said, if you give the individuals the right resources and you allow them to try themselves, critical think through the whole process, and sometimes it might be a failure, but is it really a failure when you're learning from that failure? Right.
Yes. And I liken it always when I'm in a group setting to how you would parent your kids. I have 3 kids, and I think one of the biggest disservices that we do to them is when we try to protect them from everything. Unfortunately, they're going to have to experience uncomfortable things. They're going to have to fail. They're going to have to lose. They're not going to win every single game in life. And when we don't allow them to do that, we actually set them up for failure. We set them up for this idea that success is just always at their fingertips, and it does a detrimental thing to them mentally, emotionally. It's not good. So I always liken it to, would you want to micromanage everything about your child's life? No, you wouldn't. You would, unfortunately, you have to push them out the door sometimes and say, okay, now go do. Figure it out.
Can you share with us some rewarding experiences where you witnessed significant empowerment taking place as a result of your consulting efforts?
So anytime I'm in a group, what I love the most is when people have gone through the process. I spend all day with leadership teams. So, I'm the fixture in your day when you work with me, which is really fun. So we start the day at 9:30, just depending on the schedule. And we won't finish up till 3:30, 4 o'clock. And throughout that day, I've taken them through an entire process of introducing themselves, helping them to understand who they are, why they're showing up. And the best results are always throughout the day and at the end of the day, when people will come up to me and say, you have allowed me to think so much bigger about my life. You've allowed me to think so much bigger about the work that I do. And now I know why I'm showing up. And the results really come in that team cohesiveness and really helping build stronger teams. Because now if I know that the person sitting next to me, if I know that, Jim and Joy and, doing a lot of J names, I don't know, and Jessica are all aligned now, or they can see, oh my goodness, you have that goal. I have that same goal too. Maybe not right now, but it's one that I am really thinking about down the road. How now are we more aligned and connected as a team on a personal level, which accelerates the professional level and helps foster that deeper connection. And we unfortunately in our society today, and hybrid culture and remote culture unfortunately has aided that. And I do believe that there's benefit in both and in all, but there is something to be said for that one-on-one human connection that we can have, because it brings us closer together. I always use the example of why I travel and why I prioritize travel over most everything in my life.
Okay.
It's because it makes me a better person. I find that, one, my world is actually a lot smaller than I think. And I typically learn from other cultures and other people that, wow, we don't live life too dissimilarly from each other. We're actually more alike than we are different. And so when we can create those types of experiences within our own teams just to get to know each other better, I mean, it's so cool. That's the moment that I love. And that, to me, that's where the results are. That's where like the magic happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you travel, like you said, it makes your world look so small. And the part I love about it is that you meet people and you hear their story and you be like, everybody don't have it figured out. Everybody are overcoming problems and things like that. And, we're all on the same journey. That's what I love about it.
Yes, absolutely. I think it would solve so much of our world's problems, and especially our country's problems, if we like force people to travel.
Yeah.
If we made them get out of, their own little bubble, their own little community, their own little world, and
Yeah.
force them out to get to know other people.
And so in today's fast-paced world, how do you help individuals and organizations stay focused on empowerment and aims that at these various distractions and pressures?
So, and that's a tough one. We get in a grind, right? We get in a grind. So it's constant. We just have to pull ourselves back. So how I work with tempering that or helping them is to create systems and processes that we can put in place and implement that allows them to think about what they're working towards. Think about, as a leader, how am I continuing to build team cohesiveness? As an individual contributor, what am I doing? What am I doing to step into my own level of leadership? How am I stepping up to not just care about me and not be on my little island, but how am I looking out for my team members as well, and really building that community within the team? And so there's a couple ways I do that. I share with everyone a process I call Friday 5, and it's every Friday you spend 5 minutes reflecting before the end of your day, before you're about to go home, before you're about to, kind of shut it down and shut it off for the weekend. You just spend 5 minutes thinking about all the things that you did that week. Now that it's combined in conjunction with another process that I have called, it's just a Post-it note method. I haven't really named it anything. It's just, I love using Post-it notes, and I write on Post-it notes all the time. I have all of my goals typically, and I'll write one a day. And then at the end of the week, I've got 5 Post-it notes. And out of those 5 Post-it notes, that's actually what will lead me into the Friday 5, because I'll sit there and I'll look at each one of them and think, wow, I could view this as a non-productive week. I could view this as a week that got really bogged down with meetings, with appointments, with, a fire that I had to put out, all of the different things that leaders typically can get caught up in, or even, coming from a sales background, even someone who's out in the field, their day to day can seem like it's monotonous and just it's a copy, paste, repeat. But if they isolate one thing that they really needed to get done, and they can do that Monday through Friday, at the end of the week, they've accomplished 5 things that were on their schedule. And that's an empowerment tool in and of itself, because now you're giving people the ability and the opportunity to see for themselves you're actually moving the needle more than you think.
Right.
Because we discount so much what we do in our daily lives and think, well, but because I didn't reach the big goal, I didn't get to the top this week,
Right.
and then you kind of fill in the blank. I was a failure. I was second rate. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. But you know what? You got through those 5 things. At the end of the week, you've got that to reflect on.
I love that. Yeah, I like that. I have to try that as well. And
It's
so,
fun.
yeah, I have to try that because, like you said, we get so as people caught up and we want that big goal. We forget to celebrate the little goals or the little steps, that achievements that we accomplished during that week. So it's just
Yeah.
be like, oh, let me just get to Friday, and then okay, I got another week next week to try to hit that big goal, but we don't celebrate the little goals.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. Amen to that. That's the and I that's what discourages us. I mean, science shows that that's why 62% of people within the first month of making New Year's resolutions, they're out.
Mhm.
92% of people fail their New Year's resolutions, and that's largely driven by the fact that we make these really broad goals that we're wanting to see kind of immediate results around,
Mhm.
and when we don't, it's just easier for us to say, well, I'll just maybe try that again, or it's just not working right now. Instead of saying, okay, maybe the goal is not to work out 7 days a week
Right.
when maybe last year you only worked out 2 days a week anyway. Maybe it's not such a big jump. Maybe it's just to work out 3 days a week, or maybe it's just to get really consistent and good working out those 2 days a week so you can master that
Right.
before adding another, kind of like micro goal or manageable task to that larger goal of getting healthy.
Yeah.
That is the number one goal that people set at the beginning of every year is health, weight loss, fitness, all those health related goals and wellness related goals are the number one goal that people set.
And how important are vision boards? I know you said that your kids work on it, and
Yeah.
people. I was in this one mastermind group, and they're like, this one lady's like, I'm a visual person, so when I'm setting goals and things like that, it's important for me to visualize. And the lady was like, well, if that's for you, but you could just always write it out. Can you just elaborate on that?
Okay. Sure. So writing it out, yes, there is science that says writing our goals down triggers our brain to put it to memory more so than writing it on our phone, on an app on our phone, or
Right.
writing it down, on our computer online. So there is something to actually physically writing down our goals.
Right.
We know that when we write them down, some studies show we're 33% more likely. There's another study that shows we're 42% more likely. The bottom line is when we write them down, we are more likely, we have a
Okay.
higher probability of achieving them. And so
Okay.
that in and of itself says, and I mean, less than 3% of Americans write their goals down.
Wow.
So I feel like if we just started by writing our goals down, yes, that can create a visual roadmap.
Okay.
The process that I designed takes vision boarding as a supplement. So it
Okay.
creates a visual representation of the goals because 80 to 90% of us are visual learners. So
Um,
it's just another tool that we're providing in our arsenal. I believe in the power of vision boards and vision imagery because of all the science that is connected to it. We know that when we can create that frequency illusion, that frequency bias, when we can really channel the information that we're trying to see every day in our life, it's
mhm.
wildly positive. I share with groups often, 3.2 billion images are uploaded online every day.
Wow.
Over 720,000 hours of video content, just like what you and I are doing right now, are uploaded every single day.
Wow.
When you think about that from a focus and a goal standpoint, wow, if you're seeing all these images every day, the average social media user, and this is like the average social media with one platform, sees at least 10 to 100 images a day that they are inundated with. Your brain is trying to figure out how to process all of that. If I
Right.
have my board in front of me every day for the images I want to see, the things I'm trying to achieve, I see that plan, I see business planning, or I see, last year I had corporate training on my vision board, and I
Okay.
had a keyboard, and I had a stack of notebooks, and I had all of these visual clues that reminded me daily what I was working to achieve.
Okay.
Man, that primes and preps your brain. And so now anytime I'm talking to someone in a company, I'm like, let me tell you about my people and leadership development program that I've got, just constantly introducing that every day, because I want to see what I want to see. I don't want to see what Us Weekly tells me or
Yeah.
Entertainment Tonight or any of these other, and I love those. I love them. And, in my downtime and in my, in my vegetative state on the weekends, sometimes I will go through and scroll and look at those. But
Yeah.
when it comes to every single day, I got to wake up and I got one life to live. I
Right.
don't, I look at time as we all have the same 24 hours in the day. So what am I doing with that to be as impactful as possible? And the vision board really is that visual represent. It's your roadmap. It's your
Right.
roadmap. Mm-hmm.
And how often should people view the vision board? Because I think everybody asks it. What I hear is everybody asks a question, and it's like nobody really gets a real answer. So, from your opinion, how do you feel? When do you feel people should view the vision board, and how often?
Daily.
Okay.
And it needs to be in a spot where you can see it every single day, where you are looking at it actively every single day. I have mine on my desk when I wake up in the morning. I pass it every morning, and so the first thing I'm doing is looking at that board, and I'm seeing the images that I want to put into my life for that day. Yes, daily. And then here's the other beauty of it. So I have a workbook that's on Amazon, and you can. It's called Creating a Vision Board, but it's so much more about the actual process. It's helping you define your word of the year. It's helping you create your core values, your mission statement, write out your core goals, build positive habits that align with it. And it even gives some planning questions so that you can continue throughout the process throughout the year. And one of the things that I mention in there is how you need to spend time with your board every single day to revisit it and to really prime and prep your brain, because your brain wants to go to work and help you achieve what you want it to.
Right.
Just how we can allow negative self-talk, and we can allow people to come into our life and convince us that we are not certain things or we're not enough. If we continue to believe and buy into that narrative, our brain will go to work to help us prove that. So that's why I say you have to set yourself up for success
Right.
daily,
Yeah.
because you've got to foolproof yourself. It's almost like you're creating these little booby traps for yourself, right? They're like, nope, I don't care what anyone says. I've got this vision board. I'm working towards my vision. Then you go out in the world and you see those images out in real. It's wild how the universe will work that way.
Yeah.
And you're like, yep, exactly. It's reminding me, it's validating that I'm on the right path, so that
Right.
when someone does say, I don't know if I see you doing that, or I don't really know if you can accomplish that, you're like, excuse me, back up. I've got all of these plans in place. I've got all of these things in place to prevent me from buying into that, to prevent me from allowing myself to even entertain your negative thought, because I know what I'm capable of doing. I do mirror work. I tell myself every morning, I trust myself and that you've got this,
Right.
because I always say the way to get into that, when people ask, like, how do you even get started with, with mirror work? And that seems so cringy and so odd. It is at first. It's
Yeah.
really uncomfortable to look at ourselves in the mirror. But I just look at it as having a conversation with myself. And I also think, what would I say to my daughter? I have a 16-year-old daughter. Would I allow her, or would I ever want her to get in front of the mirror and tell herself she's not enough, and she's not beautiful, and she's not intelligent, and she's not driven, and all of these are capable? So I think about that, and it allows me to more easily talk to myself in that way too.
And what I love about mirror work is, like you said, you're talking to yourself, but you're also getting confidence. So it's like because I started it, and it's like you just be like, okay, yeah, you got this. Like, you know what I mean? You are enough, and you're going to be whatever. So it makes you believe it even more, versus I can see the writing and stuff like that. But when you're talking to yourself, you're like, it's something within the subconscious mind, I feel like, that gets embedded, and you're like, okay, you got this. You can do it.
Yes. Yes. And we know how effective those affirmations and that positive self-talk is, especially in young girls. It's so important for them to have that behavior modeled for them, and then for them to be able to take part in it too. And I mean, I've got 2 boys as well, and on their mirror, they read every day. The first thing they wake up to, both of them, is 5 affirmations of: I am smart, I am kind, I'm intelligent, I am perfect, and I am enough. And I mean, the perfection time, I always tell them like, well, you're perfectly imperfect, but I want them to know that they're perfect just the way they are. They're perfect just the way that they are. They are enough, and yeah, and that they're intelligent, that they're talented, they're kind, and that they're loved as well.
Right. And so finally, can you tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on?
Yes, I actually have a free masterclass on Thursday, February 29th at noon. I'll send you the information. It's going to be at 12 p.m. Eastern time, so that hopefully, even if you're on the West Coast, you can log on at 9 a.m. And it's called Calibrating. This month's session is going to be called Calibrating Your Goals. So even if you've not made a vision board, even if you haven't ordered my workbook yet, or you've never even heard of a vision board, you've never written down your goals, you've never even heard, even thought about writing your goals, because I get a lot of those people in my workshops or in my private work with clients that come to me because they've never even written a goal down. This is going to be a session for you, because we're going to touch on like how to kind of get started. And then for those that have written their goals, but then maybe they wrote them or they didn't write them down, kind of what you were saying earlier, like, is there that link between writing them down? Yes, there is. Sometimes we think about our goals and we think, oh, I won't forget that. And 2 weeks later, because we haven't followed up on that information, 75% of it's gone. So most likely we've forgotten about those goals.
Right.
That's why it's key. So we'll actually take some time and we'll do some chat feature conversations where people will write down their goals or they'll write them down in a journal. So come prepared. Like I said, it's a free workshop, but it's going to be a deep dive into building out a manageable path to success. We're going to talk action plan and kind of what that looks like.
I love that. Yeah, we definitely, like you said, a lot of people do not write their goals down. Some people don't even have goals. And so I found that if you don't have a goal, like you're just living, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so
Exactly.
you have to have a goal so you know what direction you're going. So I encourage everybody to join your master class if they can, because it's important, and you actually know what you're talking about. You're not just one of those people that's just out here like, oh, just trying to get likes and stuff like that. No, you're actually know what you're talking about. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, no, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. I'd love to talk about this. I'm really passionate about it. And I think that there's just a lot of misconceptions around, like that, we see people, to your point, like we see people in this influencer culture and, oh, they're, doing all these things. It's like, we have so much more power over our own lives than we think. That's always a really fun conversation to have with people too, because I encourage anyone and everyone, we're all worthy of dreaming. We just have to give ourselves permission. And once we do, we flip that switch and beautiful things can happen. Like I said, that's where the magic happens.
It does. And allow yourself just to, like you said, have that big goal. You know what I mean? Like you don't let the surroundings or your environment control what you really want. You got to be able to, again, use your imagination and be able to, like, I can see myself being the president of the United States. Like, okay,
Yes.
So, but just allowing yourself just to be that kid again, you'll see like things that just start downpouring to you, just start coming to you. You're like, oh, okay, all right, okay. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Totally, totally. Yes. And it's out there. And that's what I love. We don't teach our kids this enough. We don't teach them to dream enough. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So yes, reconnect with your inner child and have fun. Have fun building out your goals.
Yes. Well, thanks, Maria, for stopping past. Anytime you want to come back, always welcome. Come talk about goals, because I feel like this is not just like a beginning of the year topic. I feel like this is something that need to be talked about all the time, and being able, like you're saying, writing it and visualizing it and just the affirmations in the mirror that helps with like the negative talk and things like that. And like, and I've seen some books where they'll come out and they don't help you with action plans. And then some people don't even know how to write a goal. They're like,
Mhm.
well, what's a goal? So we really definitely need to continue the conversation.
Yes, no, I agree. And I could not agree with you more. It's not something it's not a one and done. And I think oftentimes that's the thing. We think beginning of the year, we write our goals and then done. We
Yeah.
wrote them. It's a constant process. It's a
Yes.
constant process. What I wanted to accomplish at the beginning of one year too might not be what I want to accomplish at the end of the year either.
Right.
the beauty of evolving as a human is that we can change our minds, and we could maybe start on one goal and then realize, I don't even think that I want to accomplish this anymore. That's
Right.
okay too. So that's exactly why, to your point, it has to be a continuous conversation. And I'd be honored to come back on and talk more about goal setting.
I appreciate it. All right. Well, you have a good day, and we'll
Thank you.
get you back for a second interview.
It sounds great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Tune in to the Diva Hot Show. Motivate the glow. We get you more info. Think to my head to toe. I let the whole world know. I let the whole world know.